Hey, welcome back everybody. So today's project is once again a Meyer snowplow. Never thought I would see one again in my shop. Yeah, right. So this plow is I think it's a 10-foot highway plow, which you would see kind of like on smaller dump trucks. So this thing has a rack of problems. For starters, they can't get the springs. That one's tight, that one's tight. So that one's loose. That one's pretty loose. And let's see if I can do this with the camera. It wobbles, if you can see that. So I think the problem here is this bolt. This is where the A-frame pivots to the plow. So, and it's just one thick bolt, and that's really what holds the whole thing together. And it's not super thick steel considering how big of a blade it is, but what will happen is the little hole that's in here will round itself out and become like an oval, and over time that will make the plow bounce around a lot. And then what will happen on top of that is once it starts bouncing, it keeps bouncing back and forth, and it ovals the hole out even bigger. And then the big problem is after it ovals itself out and there's so much stress on that tip, it'll actually break the tip off, so there's not a full hole in there. So it's actually kind of like a partial hole, and then the rest of it's blown out. So what we have to do is take the plow off, take that bolt out, and see what this plate looks like underneath. See if it's ovaled out or if the tip of it is just completely broken. So if it's an ovaled out hole, we can fill that in with weld, re-drill it at the proper location, and that'll usually solve the issue. So for those of you who don't know and aren't welders, welding, the weld that is in the weld when you're done welding, saying that a couple of times here, is actually stronger than the mild steel that you would normally have on the frame and stuff. So it's usually about twice the strength. So if I were to take that, weld it, drill a hole in it, that metal that I drill through is actually twice as strong as the surrounding metal. So a lot of times if you re-drill this hole here, it'll actually last longer because you're drilling it through the welding material versus just regular steel. So it actually lasts a little bit longer. But anyway, so once we finish that, we have to see if the plow sits properly. So right now, you can see with the plow sitting on the concrete, how the plow kind of tilts back a little bit. It's supposed to tilt forward more. So that is caused by one of two things. It very easily could be caused by that bolt, or it could be caused by wear under here. So the way this setup works, for those of you who aren't familiar with Meyer plows, is there's a piece of angle right here, angle steel, and it rests up against this piece right here. So when this is setting at where it's supposed to set, this piece, this angle right here, will sit in and it'll push up against this, and that's what keeps the blade from coming back any further, is this in here. So what will happen over time is constant usage will take this edge up in here and it'll wear on the underside of this, which will allow this blade to come back further. But with that bolt being the way it is, chances are that the bolt is allowing this to come out further, which is allowing this to come back further. So that's one of the major issues we're working with. And then we have these ribs. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The outer two are okay, that one and that one. But 1, 2, 3, and 4 are completely broken off. So this is like a piece of rubber filler. but this is where it's resting, and the rubber filler right in here is where it's supposed to be. So it is pushed out about a ½ inch, and they're all the same. You can see on that one the weld broke. So that's going to be a headache. This is a poly board. It's made of plastic. That's why there's these filler strips back in here. So poly boards are great because they don't rust, but on the flip side, you need extra support to hold the plastic straight. So with the metal blade, you have your supports, they put the metal on, and it's done. With the plastic, you need a lot of extra pieces to make this thing work properly. You need heavier gauge steel, you need more steel, and in my opinion, it is probably easier to have a steel plow than it is a poly plow, only because of the extra weight. And I'm not going to be able to just take this, push it in and weld it, because then I run the risk of burning this and burning the plastic. So I'm not taking this blade off. There's no way in hell that I'm going to go through that labor to take this damn thing off. So I just got to figure out how to weld this back on. I might end up burning this a little bit, but that just might be a casualty of war at this point. So yeah, that's the majority of today's project. Not really looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to be a hell of a hassle. The blade has just been beat to shit over the past few years. Let me see if I can get you a shot of this. This is what got me right here. Hold on, let's see if I can get this right. It's hard to see on the camera, but as you look down this piece of metal and you look down at all the ribs are not straight. You see the one at the very far end, right there. I'm trying to get this here perfectly. You see it kind of sticks out. It's because the whole blade is tweaked. It's like taking it's like going to Lowe's and going through their 2x4 section. That's what it looks like to me. The damn thing is tweaked. So I don't know how much I can really fix and make it perfect. Once again, this is the same guy that what do we do for him? That was actually a video that didn't work out, and I ended up having to delete it because I couldn't get it to work properly. Anyway, there will be plenty more from this guy, I guarantee you that. This is not the same Meyer plow guy that I did the last one for. This is a different guy. You'll be definitely seeing more videos of all kinds of crazy stuff from this guy. He runs a landscape company, and his guys just run this stuff until it is done. Anyway, let's get to work. First things first, we need to take this A-frame off of this round piece. This round piece is connected to the blade, and it's what lets the whole thing pivot. So we got to take that off. We got to take this off of this, which will allow us access to the bolt hole. And once I get that off, I'll show you what the bolt hole looks like. So it'll be a surprise to both of us because I have no clue how bad this is going to be. I'm thinking the worst. I'm thinking the whole thing is blown apart. So, all right, I'll put you on the time lapse and let's get this thing taken apart. literally is just completely trashed. Every little bit of the bolt that was left is just smashed in upon itself. The nut is completely rusted out. Now these are the angle cylinders. I actually had to cut the bolts off of those because as I was turning this one, you could see the bolt going like this. So I know the inside is completely bent from the force of the piston pushing against. That bolt is just trash, so that's getting cut out. All right, let's take this apart and let's see what this thing looks like. I'm curious as hell. This ought to be good. All right, this stupid bird keeps hitting the window. All right. The nut is literally like welded onto the pin. I will eat my words. This is not too bad. That is fairly close to round on that part. Fairly close. So what we need to do is take these bolts out and then lift this A-frame up, and then we'll see the carnage of this piece, because there's the bolt hole through this piece as well as this piece. This piece, I doubt, is too bad. This is actually in decent shape. So, and I just noticed too when I was messing with it, you see this lip right here, that's from this bolt rubbing on here. So there's something seriously up with this. It's not just a simple matter of replacing a bolt and adding some weld to it. So there's something else going on that this bolt is touching this. This bolt should be out here, not down here. So yeah, there's definitely something else going on. So let's get to the bottom of this. Let me take this thing apart. Just as I suspected. It's not as bad as I thought, but you can see how the bolt has a curve to it, and that's from the hydraulic piston pushing against it. Wow, it is a good one for the video. Right here, look at that bad boy. Tell me that is not a beauty. Yeah, that's what we're working with. That kind of stuff. Oh man, struck gold on this one. Look at that bad boy. Woo! Yeah. Yeah, look at that. That's a nice curve to it. Yep, there's your problem right there. Guarantee that's the problem. So pretty much what happens is he kept pushing on it so much that the bolt is not holding this thing in straight. So let's see what the rest of this thing looks like if it's all messed up too. You guys struck gold today. All right, look at this. There we go. She's a broken good. So this particular plow has the collar going through it. So what they did is they drill a really big hole, they stick a collar in there, and then they weld it. And what that does is it gives a little extra support. Instead of having a piece of 5/16 steel, you can see that right there, 5/16 steel, you have like 3/4 because you have a collar that the bolt rides in. And the same thing through here. So this is pretty well trashed too. That collar's busted out. And the metal that it's welded onto is actually bowed really bad too. So that's not in great shape. This bolt hole in here, let's see if you can see it better. Pretty round, not bad. Doesn't need to be messed with. What needs to be messed with is that and this. So yeah, that's what happens when you run the crap out of your snow plows and there's no maintenance done on them. You get stuff like that. So technically, it's a salvageable system here. We can band-aid the hell out of it. It'll make it work again. Is it ever going to be as good as it should have been? I don't know about that. That might be a little much to say. But at the end of the day, it'll work. It'll be functional. And at this point, you can actually see what I was talking about, it being warped. You see that side is, I don't know what, 2 inches. That's resting flush. That's resting flush. This, oops, is up about 1/2 inch. So it's definitely tweaked. As you look across the horizon of the plow, that is not camera distortion. That is the actual plow bent. So yeah, that's wonderful stuff. And it's about, I think we covered all the problems with it. Yeah. Other than that, now it's just a matter of fixing this stuff. I don't have any collars to replace it with, which is really what you should do to do it right. I mean, I can't weld them back together. That's not going to hold. So the only thing I can do, he needs it. Today is Thursday and he needs it Sunday. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get parts for it by then to fix it right. Well, I got a bin in the back of the garage here with some miscellaneous stuff. I'll see if I can manufacture something. It's a 3/4 bolt, so it's not a small one. It's a big hole. So I got to see what kind of collars I have that'll fit in there. In the meantime, I got to take these collars out to see what the outer diameter of it is, to see how big of a hole is in there. So let me see if I can do that. I don't know if I can or not without cutting the whole thing apart. Yeah, I guess this is worst case scenario. Yeah, so the smaller plows, they don't have those collars in there. It's just a hole in the steel. And usually that's really simple. You just weld it up and drill a new hole, but this ain't going to be the case. So, all right, well, let's get to work, see what I can do here. All right, so it is Saturday afternoon. Storm is coming tomorrow, and my UPS parts just came in for the snowplow. So here is the bushing. And that bushing goes right in here. Gets put in there and welded, and then the other bushing goes in there. I just got to cut that out and clean it up nice. So I'm going to get started on this. He's anxious to get his plow. He's already been bugging me about it. So yeah, let's get this thing done so we can get it the heck out of here. All right, so now we're at the point where we're putting stuff back together. I just slid the pins into the pockets. I just slid the pins into the pockets. We're gonna get that lined up. Let me adjust this base for you a little better. Okay, sorry. Not sorry. That's not right either. There we go. Okay. Trying to get as great of a view as I can. Okay, so put the pins in. Got the other pin in. Now we can put the springs in and hook. Okay, so it's a few hours later. I had to run out and get some bolts. They didn't even have the bolts I needed, so I ended up having to kind of like make a bolt. It's been a crappy day. Anyway, blade is done. Not the best scenario, but it's working. Definitely has a better curve to it while it's standing up. When I put everything back together, I noticed that the springs, you can see that one, this one's really loose, but I think his springs are just so worn out. Normally a good spring shouldn't even be able to move, shouldn't even have that much play in it. Let's see, let's try this one. Yeah, that one's just done. Now see, this one has a lot of play in it, but it's very stiff. So he really needs new springs. This spring right here, you can't really see it from in the camera, but when you're looking at it from real time, it's like a couple inches longer than it's supposed to be. So these things are just stretched out, totally worn out. He needs new springs. So anyway, I wish I could have showed you more, but it's really back and forth on messing with things and adjusting things, and then halfway through the video, as you saw, the camera went out. And anyway, long story short, everything's back together. Everything's slid right back together. It fits in nicely. This bolt, if you can see, I literally had to cut a bolt and weld a nut to it as a temporary fix. It's a 3/4 inch bolt. Normally Lowe's has them, but they didn't have the one I needed, so I just kind of made one. I'll have to go to a specialty place tomorrow and pick up some, or not tomorrow, Monday, and pick up some more. But anyway, it's back together. If you have any questions about what I did, feel free to comment, or you can check me out on Facebook and message me on there under Formidable Fabrications. Plenty of ways to get a hold of me, but yeah, this is the kind of stuff I end up doing a lot of. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps some people just kind of see what they need to do to fix their plows. Once again, I'm located in Central Maryland. I do have emergency snow hours if you break down in the middle of a snowstorm. You can find me on Facebook, contact me, and I can definitely help you out in the middle of a storm. But otherwise, please like, subscribe. Any comments I'd be interested to see. And we'll still got a lot more videos coming out. I just started filming doing the sides on an international stake body truck. So that'll be interesting. And the list just keeps getting longer every day. So I have plenty of jobs, interesting stuff. We got some fun things going on too. So thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.